Hi everybody, how are you? My name is Donette Perry. I began my route to education, I want to say a while now. Education has been such a strong net that I find so needed in society today for our young kids and all the way to high school, college, and further on in life. I currently work with preschoolers, which I've come to love the little people. Um, Many reasons. Mainly, I believe the little ones, you can still mold them and, kind of guide them into life and support them. So education has been such a tremendous route. I come from being a teacher assistant to a teacher, now a center director. Now, what does that mean? That means you manage the school, and managing the school means you lead. And what you do as a lead, you become a leader. So in order to do that, we have to come up with a lot of ideas and a lot of inventive ways each school year to really catch our learners, because each year children are, more advanced than the previous group. And what we've come to know in the 21st century, children love technology. It's like the number one thing for them. So what better way than to incorporate technology in the classroom by just giving them all these new things. Kids went from the iPad to now they're using Chromebooks in their classroom. So the group of I decided that we're going to come up with something to help our students, which is called a podcast. What's a podcast? It's a lot. But a podcast is really just an auditory way of listening and sharing ideas and, receiving information from other podcast people who have done it. So what we want to do at our school, we want to do a podcast for our students, which is totally tremendous. So we took this assignment down over and made it a proposal and introduced it to our principal, Mr. Princeton Alexander, over 2 months ago about enhancing podcasts in our school, to really build our enrollment up. Due to the pandemic, a lot of students are learning from home. And, parents are saying, hey, this might work for me to teach my children from home. But it's not necessarily good for all kids. We have a lot of bilingual learners, ELL students, IEP students, different special needs that students need services than just over the computer. So we wanted to share that with parents doing a podcast, how we can support them. So like I said, the opportunity to implement this podcast into our classroom is one of the ways that would be great for teachers. So I want to tell you the purpose to promote, advertise, and freely educate the community about upcoming enrollment through the way of a podcast with the school educator teams, teachers, former parents currently. Students can take advantage of this podcast. The school education team will work on this podcast. We will work on this for at least a good 3 months time span before we can even put it out there to others. So we want to share this. For someone who have never heard of a podcast, I say once again, it can be described as a talk show, which is something I like to do. I like to talk. So if you're someone who likes to talk, this is a great way for you to share information. Instead of just listening to a radio, you can do your podcast without any interruptions. You can have advertisement. You can promote other companies on your podcast. Okay, so it's like a digital audio file made available for the intent for downloading to a computer or a mobile device, typically available on series, new installment on which you can receive or subscribe. That was quoted from WIN 2021. So we want to go on and telling the teachers doing our education plan is that we're going to create a podcast for our classroom and for our students. Teachers can use the podcast such as read aloud. It's a great time to use podcasts because children typically sit and listen to a read aloud. So you can create a read aloud for your students. And in return, they can create a podcast of responding to those questions that you have posted at the end of your read aloud for comprehension, for understanding, scaffolding, expanding, building vocabulary, building memorization, and much further. So there's a lot of things that the teachers can do with the podcast that can help them. Now, podcast does have some software to help you editing, which is what you're going to see in my video. You know, some things where pictures pop up, words, stuff like that, different things. And some of the editing out there that they have is like Audacity, Music Maker, GarageBand, Power Sound. So these are different editing tools that you can use for your podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and hope you share. Have a good day.